You know those 20-somethings who apparently are about to take over this world. And I see some good-looking adults and parents also. They're what you call the baby boomers. And they're also known as the hippie generation, the flower children, the Woodstock generation people. But there's one thing that brings both millennials and baby boomers together, and that is open space. And every time we talked about building a park instead of a parking lot, there is wide agreement between millennials, baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, whatever generation you are. We all agree that open space is good for us. So let me tell you about this conversation I have with my niece, who is a millennial. And just to humor her, I let her think that I'm cool. And so I described to her the idea of the BGC Greenway and asked her what it evokes in her. What are your associations, I asked her. And I told her that, I say, look, it's 1.6 kilometers, stretch of landscape, 1.6 kilometers. That's the longest urban park we have here in Metro Manila. I told her it's a venue for BG citizens, people who live, work, and play in this city. I told her that it's aimed to provide a sense of place for our community. And every time they see this linear park, it will evoke in them that it's only here in BGC where you have such a long track of open space. That it's really dedicated to provide green and healthy spaces to make city livable. And it's all about our promise of a truly walkable city. I kept on describing to her about our park, and I could see she was impressed. She was nodding her head in agreement, again a sign of approval, and I felt proud. I was delighted, and before I could ask her what she thought, she interrupted my speech and she said, "You know, Tito Manny, that's awesome. As you were talking, a song by the Counting Crows came to mind." So at this point, you know that this is written by a speechwriter. And she sings a few lines and it goes something like, "Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. They've paid paradise and put up a parking lot." She continued, "I'm happy you're giving more space for people to enjoy the environment rather than build more roads and malls and parking lots." And I, of course, had no clue who the Counting Crows were, but the song I do recognize. And as much as I try very hard to act like a millennial, I know from that generation that the so-called flower people, flower children, all do not